Hello, internets, and welcome to another Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle. You can call me 12-Pack, and today's battle is against someone called Jordan. No real history behind this battle, but I must say that this is one of the best battles I feel that I have personally played as a Pokemon player. Uh, Not meaning to float my own boat at all here, but I feel like I did an exceptionally good job against the odds I was pitted against in this match. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump into team preview. This might be a little longer than usual, so if you do want to skip to the actual battle, which I suggest you don't if you want to learn about the sets I'm running, there will be an annotation on the screen to do that. So, first off on the team, we've got my usual Shuckle. This is a physically defensive one, as I felt he fit best onto this team. Let's see, he's got Sticky Web, Stealth Rock, Encore, Knockoff, the usual sets I use. So, he is quite instrumental to my success in this match. Next up on the team, we have my personal Archeops set that I like to think I coined myself with Sky Attack, Power Herb, Acrobatics, U-Turn, and Roost. Main idea with this guy is to land a huge attack with Sky Attack on something, thus activating Acrobatics' 120 BP and enabling Archeops to continue to do damage. He actually doesn't really do a whole ton this match, so he's not really all that important. However, next on the team, Doublade, absolute star of the show. Now, I must say that when I did my first playthrough through Pokemon Y, I absolutely loved Aegislash. He was one of the first Pokemon I got to level 100 in that game, and this was before I actually knew how OP and good he was. So, I no longer use Aegislash, but I do like to use Doublade now that I have one of my own. And this guy is seriously beastly. He's not quite as good as Aegislash, but he definitely has his own merits that enable him to kick serious ass. So, next to Doublade here, we have my specially defensive tank Malamar. And this thing is generally really good if you can get him on a proper switch in. However, this battle he doesn't really do anything, so I'm not going to spoil what he's capable of until I actually get a game where he does something worth talking about. Next, we have my Trevenant. Now, this thing is not quite as good as Gourgeist Super, in my opinion, but he is actually quite good in his own way thanks to his harvest ability. So on this one, I'm running, what am I? Hornleech, Curse, Will-O-Wisp, and Phantom Force in order to get that free turn to get Harvest to activate. And I must say he is fairly instrumental in my success during this battle. Then lastly, but certainly not least on the team, we have my Cleric Audino. Probably my favorite Cleric to use in the game. Mostly just here to heal things and generally be a pain in my opponent's ass. So, my opponent's team, let's see. A pretty standard try-hardy OU team, with the exception of Aegislash, who is actually an OU. So, first off on his team, he has Talonflame. Now, right off, as soon as I saw that, I knew I needed to get Stealth Rocks up as soon as possible in order to weaken this thing considerably when it switches in and help it KO itself with Brave Birds. So, that was one thing I knew I had to do going into the game. Next, we have the aforementioned Aegislash. Kind of interesting that he is running Aegislash and I'm running Doublade, as they kind of counter one another, Ghost being weak to Ghost. But, yeah, there is a confrontation later on in the game between the two. Next, we have Alakazam, which I was pretty sure going into the game was Mega Alakazam, since that's the only Pokemon on his team that could potentially Mega Evolve. I've never really had too much trouble with Mega Alakazam because he's frail as hell and just basically really easy to OKO unless he OKOs you first. So I wasn't too concerned about that thing. I was much more concerned about this Tentacruel, who could potentially spin off my rocks and webs in order to allow that Talonflame to switch in at full health. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he also has Glysaur, which can carry Defog, and that could basically do the same thing if I was not careful. And then lastly on the team we have Jolteon. Now Jolteon is generally not too big of a problem to me whenever I'm playing, but Nevertheless, he's not to be underestimated. He can do work if you are not prepared. So, without further ado, let's get into this match.
Jordan is issuing a challenge.
So, I'm going to lead off with my Shuckle, since I figured he was the best, and he leads with Jolteon. Now, right away I was expecting a Volt Switch, so I actually went for the knockoff here to knock off whatever he wanted to switch in, but turns out he actually did go for Toxic, probably wanting to stall my Shuckle out here. And that knockoff is going to knock off his Life Orb, leading me to believe this is an offensive Jolteon, which obviously all of them are, because let's face it, who's ever heard of a tanky Jolteon? So he's going to switch out right away, going to Tentacruel here. And I went for Encore, predicting him to attack me before he realized that he couldn't really do any damage, but it fails because he switched out, and the Tentacruel is going to get up a free layer of Toxic Spikes before I lock him into it again with Encore. So that Toxic Spikes is potentially pretty annoying to my team, since I don't actually have a spinner on my side, and yeah, I do have a couple things that are immune to it though, so I'll have to be, well, I think just actually Doublade is immune to it, but, oh no, Archeops too, because he can fly, but anyway, it is annoying nonetheless. So I get my Sticky Webs down there, even as he lays down a second layer of spikes, or Toxic Spikes, which is kind of annoying, but it is giving me the opportunity to set down all my own things. And right here, he switches out into his Glysaur, even as I switch out on the same team into my Doublade. Now, this actually was not a very good matchup for me. I was hoping to set up with Doublade if he was foolish enough to stay in with Tentacruel, but since that does not happen, I'm going to be forced to double switch into my Archeops. And I was actually predicting this Earthquake that's going to happen right now. And I do actually evade that, and I'm able to go for the free Sky Attack here. Thanks to my Power Herb, I will be able to hit in the same turn I use it, and hopefully do a large chunk to this thing. And it lands, and even with that, or I do get the flinch there, but even with that 140 BP, I actually don't do a whole ton of damage. So this obviously leads me to believe this is a purely physically defensive Glysaur. So I'm just going to U-turn out of there and go straight into my Trevenant here in order to hopefully disrupt this thing and force it to switch out. And you'll see how in a moment here. So he goes for Toxic, hoping to poison my Archeops, but since I switched out and Trevenant got poisoned from the spikes, it fails. So I'm going to go right here. Okay, never mind. He goes for Protect, hoping to stall me out a little bit more HP from that Toxic damage. And I'm going to go for Curse, because that can go through Protect, Substitute, whatever, and hit him directly. And the nice thing about Trevenant is he essentially gets all but infinite curses thanks to his Harvest ability. I can just keep recovering the HP I lose from using Curse. So hopefully that'll force him to either switch out or stay in and risk dying. So it's going to do, well, somewhat decent damage, and I get the Harvest off the same turn, which is quite nice. So he is going to switch out this turn and go straight back into Jolteon. Probably going to use Shadow Ball. I don't know why, but most of them seem to know Shadow Ball for some reason. And I'm going to be forced to switch out, predicting that, and go... Or did I predict that? I'm not sure if this is the same turn or had I double switched or not, but I'm going to go into Shuckle here, and... oh, he actually goes straight for Volt Switch, so maybe he was predicting me to switch. I'm not sure. But it's not going to do too much to me since I am physically defensive, but it did quite a bit considering. So he's going to go straight into Aegislash, which is nicknamed Prison Shank, which is actually kind of hilarious. That's probably the most elaborate Prison Shank there ever was. But anyway, I'm going to keep taking damage from Toxic here after I get up my Stealth Rocks. And he's going to go straight for Swords Dance. Now, the nice thing about Aegislash is he's really, really predictable. You can always predict what he's going to do. So I'm going to lock him into Swords Dance with Encore in order to hopefully force him to switch out for fear that I set up on him. And I'm down to 22 HP thanks to the Toxic, which I was thinking I was going to need Shuckle as part of my win conditions, since his Encore is really going to disrupt a lot of his walls. And I am not quite ready to sacrifice him just yet, so I'm going to switch out at the same turn. He switches into Jolteon. Go back into Trevenant, which again is not a particularly great matchup. I was hoping his Aegislash would stay in so that I could use Will-O-Wisp and somewhat cripple it with the burn. But he actually swapped into Jolteon, and I actually harvested another Citrus Berry there, so Trevenant's just harvesting that shit like all day long. So I'm going to double switch out, predicting the Shadow Ball. Go into my Audino here. Get poisoned from the Toxic Spikes, but who cares? I have Heal Bell. And indeed, he does go for Shadow Ball, and it does not touch me, thankfully. So he's going to go straight and Volt Switch out of there. And every time he's switching out now, he is taking hazard damage, which is great for me. Once you get up those rocks, man, it just starts to do work. Anyway, he does go back into Gliscor here, which is poisoned, and my Audino cannot touch this thing whatsoever, but I do go for the Heal Bell here just to heal off that heightened poison damage on several of my pokes here, in addition to Audino itself. So, knowing I can't touch this thing at all, I think I switch out this turn in order to get something in that actually can do something. So I'll go back into Trevenant. I guess I was planning on cursing him again, I believe, since that's basically the best counter I have. And he actually goes for Substitute. Now these Gliscor sets with Substitute, Roost, Toxic, and Earthquake are so freaking annoying, man. It drives me nuts. But if you do have something with Curse on your team, that is probably the best counter you can have to it. So wait, he's got Substitute, Protect, Toxic, and Earthquake, I believe. So he doesn't actually have Roost, which is not quite as annoying, but oh well. So I'm going to Curse again here, lose almost, go down to the red with my HP, but thanks to the Citrus Berry, get me back up healthily into the yellow. So take some toxic damage, who cares, who cares. That thing's going to take damage through the Substitute. Curse is really a move that a lot of people do not utilize to its full potential. It's extremely good, especially if you're carrying Mean Look on something, say, like Dusknoir or Dusclops. You can really trap things and screw them over completely. So he's going to go for Earthquake. I predict that, go into Archeops. Can't touch me, can't touch me. And that thing's going to take some more damage from that shit, and he is going to be forced to switch out. Now, I believe that... What do I do here? I think I just U-turn out, predicting him to switch out as well. And I want to get the proper matchup with whatever he switched in. So yeah, I do go for U-turn. It's going to do like absolutely nothing to Aegislash, which I'm actually okay with because Archeops obviously is not going to do anything against him anyway. So go back into Trevenant here, hoping to get up that Will-O-Wisp if he goes for a, say, a King Shield or a Swords Dance. But actually he's going to figure that he can KO me this turn, which is actually a pretty good assertion, or assumption I should say, since I do only have 48 HP left and I'm specially defensive, not physically defensive. Not that there's any way he could know that, but he just figured he'd risk it and see if he could take me out, and he is correct. So Trevenant dies, and right here I was like, fuck, I am screwed now, because now I can't burn that thing, and it's going to be free to set up and just shit all over my team. So Shuckle's going to come back in here. I'm like, come on, Shuckle, you gotta do something here, man. And actually, I pull a little sneaky maneuver here. Double switch out, go into Cleric, predicting him to want to try to finish me off with a Shadow Sneak. Now that I look back on this, there was actually no point whatsoever on this move. Because even if I'd just switched directly into Audino, he would have gone for Swords Dance, and it changes nothing that I did what I just did, since he's going to outspeed me anyway. So he actually goes for King Shield instead of Swords Dance, which I thought was, I'm not gonna lie, kind of retarded, since whoever heard of Audino carrying a move that could touch Aegislash? Even if I had Double Edge, it wouldn't hurt him at all. So I'm gonna use Wish, predicting him to want to try to set up against me, and pull the switch out into my Shuckle here and get his ass back up to full HP, hopefully. Audino being able to pass off pretty sizable wishes thanks to its nice HP stat. So he goes for the Swords Dance. Shuckle gets the wish straight back to full HP, but I am going to keep taking toxic damage, which means if he does try to OKO me with, say, Gyro Ball or Flash Cannon, I will not be able to survive thanks to Sturdy. So he's going to go straight for Sacred Sword here. It does a really hefty amount. I'm going to go for Encore. And right here is the beginning of the end for our friend Jordan. Because now he's locked into a fighting type attack, which does not affect my Doublade, who I'm going to switch in on this Aegislash and predict him to attack yet again, which he does. Does not affect me, which means now he has to switch out, which gives me a free turn to set up a Swords Dance. And I'm sure you can probably see where this is going at this point. Let's see, the whatever this thing is called comes in, Glysaur, does some pretty solid damage with Stealth Rocks, he's almost dead. Right here I was actually predicting him to go for Protect, just to see what I wanted to do, but he actually goes for Earthquake, which is going to do a fairly decent chunk of damage to me, about 54 damage I believe, just a rough estimate. So I did go for a Swords Dance there, predicting him to go for Protect, but since he did not, I was going to give him the opportunity to do it this turn, I should say, and get a little bit more HP back with that Poison Heal. But since I'm at +4 attack, there's no way in hell he's going to survive another hit from my Doublades, so even with that added HP. So I get a critical hit, didn't matter whatsoever, I'm pretty sure. Annihilate Glysaur, and he goes down. So he goes straight into Aegislash here. Now obviously you'd have to be a complete idiot or not familiar with the metagame at all to think that this thing would not just go for a King Shield. So predicting that King Shield, I'm going to take a turn, get a third Swords Dance up, +6 attack, max attack. I'm basically fucking like God mode right now. And his King Shield's going to do nothing now. Predicting him to want to just attack this turn, I'm going to go for the Shadow Sneak, and obviously he's not running Brave Nature, since that's what I'm running, and I am running that nature in order to have as little speed as possible to do as much damage as possible with Gyro Ball, which is actually my third attack next to Shadow Sneak and Sacred Sword. So I absolutely shit on Aegislash, who does like nothing to me, so that matchup is done now. So he goes into his Talonflame, not at all worried about this thing since I resist the Brave Bird, even if it is choice banded. No way in hell he's going to be able to take me out thanks to my Evilite. So I go down to 44 HP, he loses a little chunk of HP, and I'm going to go for Shadow Sneak, just shit on its soul, goodbye, Talonflame, fuck you, don't come back. So next up he's going to bring in Alakazam. Right here I was a little bit concerned that he'd be carrying, well actually no, I wasn't concerned because Stealth Rocks are still up. I don't know why he didn't go into Tentacruel or something first and Rapid Spin. Oh wait, yeah, Rapid Spin wouldn't work because I'm Ghost type. So yeah, he was basically screwed all around at this point. Because Focus Sash, he wouldn't have had Focus Sash actually, since he's carrying the Mega Stone. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. please excuse me. So anyway, I'll just go for Shadow Sneak here, obviously completely like bitch slapping him and knocking him the hell out, and he goes into Jolteon. This thing can't touch me either. Right here, I was actually really concerned that he was going to Rage Quit, because so many people do whenever you get up a decent sweep, and I do not live record very often due to the often extremely lengthy battles. This battle, at this point, was about half an hour long, so I was a little bit tense, a little bit like, oh god, please don't Rage Quit, this is going to be such a good game to upload if you actually stay in. So Tentacruel, last poke, comes in, no way in hell he's going to take that, and he goes down. So, Doublade, 6 poke sweep. Unbelievable. I dare you to find another battle on YouTube that Doublade actually pulls that off without any support from, say, Ninjask or something like that. But, yeah, I was really happy with that battle. I must say thank you to my opponent for not rage quitting. I'm really happy that you didn't. And aside from, well, never mind. I was going to say your team actually isn't so bad, but no, it's pretty terrible as far as OU go. Not bad, like, in terms of skill or stats, obviously, just in terms of ease of use. So, very happy with Doublade. I will definitely be using him some more. And I hope that you really enjoyed watching this battle. I know it was a little bit longer than usual, but I hope you considered that it was worth watching. I certainly considered that it was worth playing at the end. So, again, thanks so much, and with that, I will see you next time. Bye for now.